And now the moment we've all been waiting for, find your yoga strap. Okay. So we're going to go through our leg stretch series, and we're going to be employing a principle from somatic yoga that I'm pretty sure you've heard me talk about before, that's called pandiculation. Pandiculation. And essentially, it's kind of like that breath squeeze that we did to begin with. So we create a contraction and then a slow release of it, and then we just melt for a moment. So the idea is that we're mindfully bringing our attention to a group of muscles. So I'll just kind of talk through it as we do it. So let's bring that strap around the ball of our right foot. Stretch up for a second. And I want you to feel that that hip is heavy on the floor. So as we're coming into our stretches and we're pushing up through the heel, make sure that hip doesn't try to come up with you. So always think of kind of two directional down to reach up. Okay. All right, so then just bend your knee, and we're going to consciously bring our attention here to the hamstrings, so the muscles in the back of the thighs. So we're just shining a little spotlight of awareness here into this area. Okay. So then we actively pull down on the strap. So I'm holding one hand around each side of it. So I'm pulling down on the ball of the foot as I push my foot up into the strap. Now this could be quite the tug of war, right? But it really only needs a little bit of effort. So I want you to think like 5% effort, pulling down, pushing up. And as you do that, can you feel that it engages these muscles a little bit more? Right? So it kind of turns them on, it wakes them up a little bit. So they're in that contraction. And we're going to keep that as we straighten the knee. So I'm kind of meeting equal pressure, pulling down, pushing up, pulling down, pushing up. Your leg might start to shake a little bit. That's okay. You're going to come to the fullest expression of your stretch and then stay there and release that effort. So it's like we are pushing through something, kind of the feeling of being able to push the ceiling up. And then when we reach our end range of motion, release and bend and come back down. Okay, so this is a sort of non-traditional way of doing this movement where we're creating flexibility not by stretching, but by helping to reset the muscle length through pandiculation. So let's just do a couple more. I think you'll get it when I stop talking about it. All right, so take a moment to create that pressure, that equal tension, pulling down, pushing up. Take a breath in, check your shoulders. And as you exhale, feel as if you could just push your foot right up through the ceiling. Keep going to your fullest expression of stretch, whatever that means to you, without forcing it, and then release for a second. Okay, and we're just going to do that one more time. So again, we bend, we create that gentle 5% effort, and then we exhale and press up. And I'm just letting my hand slide down the strap. I've got enough grip to pull down, but also letting my hand slide down the strap. I hope that made sense. Okay. All right, now we're going to stay here. Slide your left leg out onto the floor. That will take you into a deeper stretch, so sometimes you just need to soften that right knee a little bit in order to be there more comfortably. Let's stay for one more breath here. Okay, now slide your left foot back onto the floor and just bend that right knee to relax for a second. Okay, now we're going to do that in two more positions. So now we're going to stretch the inner thigh. So I'm going to let my left knee just drop out to the side a little bit, sort of as a counterbalance. You could also keep that left leg straight. So yogi's choice there, whichever you prefer. Okay, so going out on a diagonal now. Try to keep your hips flat on the floor so that you're not tipping over to the side. And we're going to create a little bit of our pressure, foot and strap together, and then just press out, lengthening through the inner leg. And what helps me is to keep my right elbow on the floor, so I've got a little tripod of support there, and then just soften that effort for a second. Okay, so again, you're going to bend your knee in, so you're angled out to that right side. A little bit of pressure there, foot pushing into the strap, strap pulling equally back into the foot, 5% effort as we extend out. So we're getting longer from the inner groin out through the heel. And at that end range of motion, we just soften for a second. You could even loosen up the strap. And we just need to do one more of those. So it doesn't take very many, boy, words are not working in my mouth today. It does not take long for the brain to muscle connection to kick in there, for that learning to be learned. All right, one more time, breathing in. Exhale, we're going to press out, pushing through that thick, thick mud. Release. And then we're just going to hang out there for one full breath. And then bringing the legs back together. We can take that leg foot up to the ceiling. And then just bend your knee for a second to release. Nice. Okay. Let's slide the left leg out here. I think that'll be a easier way to work with this next one. Let's straighten the leg. So we're going to enter this with our legs straight and then leaning across your midline. Now there's two ways I want you to think about approaching this. One, if you know you've got some SI joints, so sacroiliac joint issues, sciatica, anything like that, I'm going to encourage you to keep your hip on the floor. So it's just a smaller range of motion, no less sensational. Okay. And if you know that your back is feeling a little bit healthier, feel free to continue bringing your leg over maybe a little bit further. Okay. So you're just going to find your starting point here. All right. And then from there, we're going to bend the knee. So the leg is leaning across the body towards the left. So we start bent, we create that little bit of pressure, and then we extend out, hip to heel. End range of motion, soften that effort, relax. I know this looks a little different than what you might be used to, but just hang in there with me. I think you're going to enjoy the results of this. Okay, so again, the knee bends, 5% effort, so it doesn't need to be super hard in the body, just easy, pressing out. It's like you're pushing something away from you. And then hold, release that effort. And then we're going to do that one more time. So we bend on our inhale. And we exhale, push through from hip to heel. Soft jaw. And release the effort. And then we just stay there. And you might even kind of melt over a little further, maybe. Just melting into that. All right. Now we're going to come back to center. Go ahead and bend your knee to your chest. You can slide your foot out of your strap. Just for curiosity's sake, let's stretch both legs out onto the floor. And notice if you feel any different between those two sides. So one leg might feel longer than the other. One side might feel like it's actually a little heavier on the floor. To me, I can feel my right leg rolling out more naturally, more easily. Like I actually feel like my right side belongs to my body. So just notice what you notice. And we have worked with our brain to muscle awareness here to reset the muscle length to neutral rather than stretching the muscle in more of a traditional way. Because sometimes when we do that, the body will recoil back. It's sort of like a rubber band when you've stretched it too far and it snaps back. When the body isn't ready to go there yet, when we're moving through areas that typically are pretty tight and we start to stretch them, it can feel really good while we're doing it. And then afterwards, sometimes the muscles will retreat back to where they were or even tighter because they don't have that pliability. But we are teaching them through this process, which I think is so fascinating, this whole brain to muscle connection thing. We're teaching them how to remember how to relax and remember how to come back to their resting muscle length. A lot of talking. Okay, let's do. So here we go, everybody. Right foot on the floor. Strap around your left foot. Let's just stretch it up for a second. Hip heavy on the floor. Okay, and we're going to start in our parallel position first, so hamstring. So bend your knee. Pulling strap and foot, pressing foot to strap as we push up. So now that you know what we're doing, release at the top. You can kind of maybe tune into some of the finer, more subtle sensations that are there. So again, creating that tension. Notice which muscles you feel engaged as you push up to the ceiling. And then feel those muscles disengaging, release. Okay, gonna do that one more time. We bend. And we press up through. And then we hold for one full breath right there. Kind of in a more relaxed position. All right, bend the knee. Then we're gonna open the legs, so kind of like you're opening a book. So option to keep that right knee bent, with just, it feels more stable in my body. It's easier to stabilize the hips for me. That's not the case for everybody. So you might want to extend that leg out. That might feel better. Yogi's choice. Again, let's just add our breath. So we're gonna inhale, create that little contraction. And this time as we exhale, we're pushing out to the side through that resistance, lengthening from the inner groin out through the heel. Be really mindful around your knee and then relax there and bend. So we're just doing 3 of each. So we inhale. Exhale, push through that resistance as if you were pushing something out to the side. Remember, 5% effort is really all you need. And then soften, melt. One more time. And so each time that we melt for that breath, you might feel the legs open a little bit more. Just notice. Here we go, pushing out. Melt, soften that effort, and we're just going to hold for our one full breath. Freedom in those hips, and then slowly bring the legs back together. All right, back in towards your center line. Bend that knee for just a second. And then press back up. And again, yogi's choice, keeping that right knee bent or that leg straight. I'm going to opt for me to keep it straight this time. Leaning to the right and choosing to keep your left hip on the floor. Or if it feels good to you, you can always take it over deeper. Goodness, am I feeling that today? All right. And then wherever you are, whatever angle you're at there, bend the knee. So remember, it's across the body. And we push out into our strap. So there's a little bit of effort. What muscles do you feel now? Where do you feel that? Maybe in the outer hip. Release there at the end range of motion. Bend the knee back to your start position. So again, pushing out. For me, I feel the outer hip and that IT band, that outer leg. Oh, that feels good. Release the effort for a second. Maybe you melt over into the stretch a bit more. Okay, we do one more. We bend. We create our tension. We push through it. We're waking up all of these muscles. And then soften that effort. And let's stay. Maybe you go a little further. To see where your body naturally goes to there for one more breath. And it's, to me, my body appreciates this way of creating more flexibility in the hips, back, and legs as we come back to center, release, and stretch your legs out. After years of more traditional yoga stretching, I've pushed through some things in my life, and years of dance training too. We tend to try to do more, and that has created some injuries for me. And so I appreciate having found this way to work with the body that feels more stable and like a safer way to find the flexibility. So I just offer that to you today. You might have another way of stretching that feels better to you, but here's just a little different way that you can explore and see how it feels to you.